now that we have 5 grandchildren, I've realized I'm not as good as I thought I was at being able to remember birthdays. You know, it was simple when it was just myself as a child, right? I could remember my birthday because that was the most important day when you're a kid, right? And then you get married, and guys, don't ever forget your wife's birthday. Pro tip, right? And then you got anniversaries, and then there's a lot of numbers that are important to you, right? I want you to say this number with me. It will be the most important number in your entire life. 1001. 1001. You guys are not very convincing. 1001, we hear it.
1001.
That's a little bit better. Now I know if you read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 43 is the most important number, right? That's the answer to all the questions of meaning, purpose, the universe. But what's the number that's the most important one for you to remember?
1001.
1001. Very good, very good. Now, I'm not opposed to tattoos. I personally, I don't have any. A couple of our boys do. Some of my friends here today have tattoos. I don't think that it's immoral. I don't think it's a sin. I don't have a problem. It's not for me. But if I were to get a tattoo, the first one would be Tandy's name over my heart.
Wow.
And then the second one would be 1001. You guys have okay. So you're tracking with me. Very good. I'm going to move over here just a minute. Let me start with a story. Okay? True story. Not a preacher's made-up story, but this is a true story. I want to introduce you to someone who, if you're not familiar with this guy's name, you need to be. He was a Catholic priest. I say was, not just because now he has passed away, but he fell in love. He got married, and in their church, you're not allowed to get married as a priest. His name is Brennan Manning. His most famous book is Ragamuffin Gospel. His memoir, It's All Grace, is even better. I want to share a story that he recounts. Oh, My Toxic Trait is. That's the name of the sermon is My Toxic Trait, which mine, by the way, is posting food on Facebook. All right, Brennan Manning says the phone rings, and you're given a choice, answer it or not. Maybe I shouldn't have answered the phone. Maybe I should have just sidestepped it like a landmine. But I answered it, and it turned out to be the foghorn of bad news. That's his sister calling. It's some of the worst news a person can get. The voice on the other end belongs to some of my love. My sister spoke 2 words. Mom died. Now you got to remember, this guy is an author. This guy travels and does like 30-day-long retreats with people. He's a sought-out, I guess for lack of better words, celebrity in Christianity. You've heard of like people like Philip Yancey or, I don't know, I'm at a loss, brain fog, popular names, right? This is that guy. I mean, this guy's huge, very influential. All right, it's February 1993. We hung up. I was aware of nothing but a single emotion. I could tell you I felt sadness or regret or even fear, but I vowed to be ruthlessly honest with myself in these pages. After Jerry called, all I thought was, God, what a bother. I packed a bag and I took a flight. All right? I was living in New Orleans at the time. My sister in Belmar, New Jersey. My mother had been in an Alzheimer's facility for 2 years, not far from where the sister lived. My mother had completely lost her memory, but I had, and my past with her, created a core of pain within myself that I had wrestled with for most of my life. I flew into Newark and took a cab to Belmar. I stayed in a motel near the church where the funeral was to be held. I stopped at the liquor store before checking in and bought a quart of their cheapest scotch. While others arranged flowers, pressed their shirts, I locked the door of my room, pulled the curtains, and drank. I wanted to forget, but unfortunately the scotch only slowed the approach of my memories. Eventually, thoughts of my mother broke through, the tone of her voice, her sayings, and mostly the shame. Like a good alcoholic, I kept drinking and drinking and drinking. I thought it was my only defense. Eventually, everything faded a shade deeper than black. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Surely the priest spoke those words over the casket of my mother, Amy Manning, but I cannot be certain because I missed my mother's funeral. I was back at the motel, waking up from a blackout, trying to remember where I was. The fact that I was in a motel room in Belmar, New Jersey, but the truth was I was in some distant place, having squandered my mother's last respect with drunkenness. In that moment, I felt the most profound shame of my life. My God, what kind of man am I? How could that happen? I didn't visit my mother's gravesite later that day, and the reality is I never did. Can you imagine the shame? A well-known professional Christian speaker, you go to your mom's funeral and you black out drunk and you miss that funeral. You ever feel bad about guilt? Do you have any shame at all? Don't look at me in the eye because then you'll think I'm preaching to you guys. Mm-hmm. Do you have any remorse? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And what number am I looking for?
1001.
1001. This is going to be the most important number. More important than your Social Security number, which someone else has by now. More important than your anniversary. More important than the day you graduated from high school. I want to talk about my toxic trait. And I do have a lot of toxic traits. I'm terrible with sarcasm. I cut people off when they're talking. I finish their sentences for them. I have a sick, twisted enjoyment. When Clay comes over, he shows me these videos of kids grinding skateboards like off of railings and then just totally getting just wrecked. Or they try to do a backflip off the pool and they land on their head, and I laugh hysterically. I don't know what your toxic trait is, but I have some terrible ones. But I love these memes. I don't know how long they've been running around because I'm not that hip. But I love this meme. When they say they love all your flaws and you wonder where you had any. You kids are too young to remember Maude. I think this was when she was in Golden Girls. What a phenomenal actress she was. You know, she served in the military. She was a tough woman. Me debating if I'm going to let it slide or start something. Now this next one, I don't need any amens from anyone who shares the same last name as me, okay? My mouth doesn't say it, but my face definitely will. I can't, oh yeah, I can't control my body language. I just can't. I mean, you know where I am. What's going on in my mind? I'm horrible with that. Do I have any more in here? Oh, I like this one. My toxic trait is that if I find out someone doesn't like me, I try to make it worse. My toxic trait is saying things out loud that should be kept in my head. So basically, all these memes. Scott, you got something that you want to share? No, I'm just teasing you. You're just getting into it just a little bit too much, back there. Basically, it's an admittance of self-sabotage. I like this one, my toxic trait. I shut down, I push people away, even when it's a time I need someone the most. As much as I don't want to, for some reason, I do it anyway. I isolate myself, I suffer in silence. because that's what I feel I have to do, and I don't deserve help. Is that sum anything up for you inside? Can you connect with that at all in any way? I like these memes that are out there because it's a way of poking fun at ourselves, which I like to do that. But it's poking fun at this. Listen to me. We are our own worst enemy. We happen to be our own worst enemy most of the time. And today, besides convincing you that what number is the most important number?
1,001.
I want to blow up your comfortable assumptions that you have about the trajectory of your walk with Jesus. Now, most of us can remember that initial excitement, that initial joy of receiving salvation, and the optimism and the excitement, and we thought we were going to be on this honeymoon with Jesus forever, and we never knew that we would face a time in our lives where we let the people down around us, where we disappointed certainly God, and then we had to live with the fact that we disappoint ourselves. That can shock a person. That can cause doubts. That can cause fear. That can cause panic. You may not know it, and you may not hear it in many places because it's bad PR, and it's not probably popular, but you're not going to constantly progress in your faith. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to every day grow in such a way that you're proud of your progress consistently. That's just a fallacy that sets us up. So, sadly, the English language doesn't have a future tense. This is so important. I don't want to bore you with language structure and technicalities. The English language doesn't have a future tense. All right? So, if I were to say to you, I preached last weekend, that ED ending tells you what?
It's in the past.
It's in the past, right? If I tell you right now I am preaching, that ING ending tells you what? Present tense. Very good. Thank you. Brandy and Michael. One of you guys. I don't know who said it.
Michael.
All right. Present tense. Okay? So Greek has a past tense, often as aorist. It has a present tense, it has a pluperfect tense, which will blow your mind, but it also has a future tense. And you look at the structure, the construction of the verb, and you look at the ending, and it'll tell you, did it happen in the past? Is it happening now? Does it happen now and continue always, or is it in the future? That's the beautiful thing about the Greek language. English doesn't have a future tense. Does Chinese have a future tense? Do you guys have tenses in your language?
I have that.
No? Okay. I don't know. I'm asking. Maybe Greek is the only language that has a future tense. Why is this important? Because theologians, preachers, commentary writers will try to tear apart the text that I'm about to share with you and say it's in the past. Paul is describing his past, but he's not, because the language is in the present. Now, Paul says in Romans chapter 7, did that which is good, and he's discussing why does God give us the law. You know, the law introduces the idea of sin, and oh man, I got all these struggles. Did that which is good then bring me to death? The written word of God, the Old Testament, all of the rituals, right? By no means. It was sin producing death in me, though what is good, in order that sin might be shown to be sin, and through the commandment might become sinful beyond measure. Sin is bad because it separates us from God. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am of flesh, sold under sin. I do not, verse 15, I do not understand my own actions. For I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. He's talking about something he is experiencing in the present moment. Verse 16, now if I do what I do not want, I agree with the law that it is good. Verse 17, so now it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. That tears people up. Paul's an apostle. He's a miracle worker. He's seen the risen Jesus. He's written a big chunk of the Bible. Surely it has to be something he's describing before he was a Christian. It's not. It's happening in real time. Verse 18, I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is my flesh. I'll never forget Jimmy Allen in his class on Romans, talking about the different sarx and sarkicos. Oh my gosh. Sarx, that's the word here. And you pinch his skin, you know. There's two different words for the body in the Greek. Soma, you know, just for the body. Then sarx, which is like the flesh, but it's a euphemism for your fleshly desires. For I have the desire to do what is right, but not the ability to carry it out. What was that number I was talking about? 1001. And you're thinking, is that how many minutes you're going to preach today? Well, maybe. For I do not, look at verse 19, I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing. Inspired, Holy Spirit deliverer, writes the Bible, spreads the church all across the known world. I don't do what I want to do. The evil, I keep on doing it. Now verse 20, now if I do what I do not want, it's no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells within me. So I find, verse 21, I find it to be a law that when I want to do right, evil lies close at hand. For I delight in the law of God in my inner being, but I see in my members another law, waging war against the law of my mind, making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members. Wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? When the slaves that were rowing the ships in Paul's day, these were the bottom. I mean, there's a hierarchy of slavery in the ancient world where physicians were slaves. You had family slaves that were your kids' tutors, and they looked just like any affluent person in town. But then you had these guys that were bad shape, and they were chained to the oar, and they never left that seat until they died. And sometimes when you were a slave, it was two guys on each side. Sometimes you were chained to a guy who died. That's literally the image Paul is trying to get you to think of. Wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? Not just that he's died, but he's metaphorically shackled to death. Thanks be to God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then, I myself serve the law of God with my mind, but with my flesh. Let me see if I can crank this up just a fuzz so we can see it here. Whoa. That's hot. Well, I screenshot it too tight. Let me just look at a real Bible then. Okay. All right. So then, myself, I serve the law of God with my mind, but with my flesh, I serve the law of sin. Paul's not talking about a past struggle. He is in the meat grinder. He is in the struggle. He is... Wait a minute, wasn't he an apostle? How could that be? What's the number I'm looking for?
1001.
Defensiveness is deafening. What are you going to do with the fact that you struggle? What are you going to do with the fact that you're not perfect? What are you going to do with the fact that you disappoint God, family, and self? What are you going to do with that? If you get defensive, you just deafen your ears to anything that can help you. I have had people speak into my life that I necessarily did not want to hear. But it helped me. When Tammy and I were first believers, she was a corporate trainer for a restaurant. She had a chance to go to Dallas for a couple of weeks, and I said, no way. We'll get a divorce before that happens. And Gary, the preacher, who gently baptized me into Christ, who was a national champion wrestler at one time, took me by the shoulders, picked me up, and pinned me against the wall. Hard. Not like loving, playful, like, I like to wrestle. No, like, Craig, you're being an idiot. You're stupid. You have a beautiful wife. Quit acting like an imbecile. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear I was being stupid. But if you're defensive, you can't hear anything. You can't hear it. There's hope. There's progress. There's promise. It's sad, but we get this self-image in our mind that I'm always going to be perfect, and then I'm no longer receptive to the fact that I'm not perfect, and I can't grow if I'm stuck in that. We lie to ourselves. Why do we lie to ourselves? Who here really likes to be ashamed? Who here really likes to be humiliated? Who here likes to just grovel in guilt and remorse? We lie to ourselves to avoid that yucky, cringy feeling. It's the same reason why we avoid people who are critical of us. It's not that they necessarily don't have something that's true, but it makes me cringe inside. I don't like the way it makes me feel, so I'm going to put a wall around me. Brick by brick. And I'm going to turn up that Floyd album, because that's the best right there. Mother, will they try to... You know, come on. Phenomenal metaphor. Good night. Roger Waters, you really knocked it out of the park there. It's only with an honest assessment that we can open our ears and we can hear clearly. So your regrets will either restrain your growth, reduce your opportunity, or your regrets will refocus, re-energize, and actually keep you moving with purpose. Just rededicate your direction. It's possible. So if defensiveness deafens our ears, that's one way you can handle it. People get on you, hey, you blew it. The other is just deny it. I can deny it to myself and to others. But that defeats our mind. So if defensiveness deafens your ears, denial defeats your mind. What was that number I was looking for?
1,001.
1,001. I'm going to repeat that number so much you're going to be sick of it and you're going to judge me later. Craig, that was just stupid. I don't even know why you kept doing that, Craig. We were sick of it. I want you to store it in your mind and your hearts. More so than the birth of your first child. More so than you first got a paycheck. You were a teenager. You saw that. But then you looked at the line items underneath and you said, store it away, cherish it from this day forward. The idea that you can be flawless in your walk with Christ is a failed notion. There is no perfect person other than Jesus in the Bible. Paul has a lot of self-awareness. It's almost a gift for him. He can see clearly. I want to do what's good. Good night. I can't tell you how many times I feel like I am just in a vortex of a waterfall just sucking me under and it's pulling me down and I'm trying to kick away and I can't get away. And I'm just talking about simple stuff, like so many good books that I want to read, so much writing that I want to get done, so much, like Tammy and I have a greenhouse that we're going to put together to save my lime tree and her foxtail fern, and if I don't hurry up and get it done, the frost is going to come and it's going to kill them both. And I don't feel like I can. Does that make any sense to you? There's things that you want to do, you just can't. And I'm just talking about simple stuff that you would say, that's a gray area. That's not moral. That's immoral. It's not sin. It's not good. I just feel like. Until we have self-awareness of our shortcomings, we will never have the conviction of the heart to experience the transformation that brings joy. We have to have self-awareness. So what do we do with this disappointment? I become a Christian. I feel good. I feel like God loves me. I feel like I'm on the winning team, whatever that means. I know that people were talking about Tennessee and Alabama had a game this week, and I thought, what are we going to do? Because we got Alabama fans on one side of the room, and we got Tennessee fans on the other. What are we going to do here? We'll have a divided church if we're not careful. Oh my gosh, right? What do we do with this? You can ignore it. You can deny it. You can make excuses for yourself. Or you can face the fact and work with what you have. What's that number?
1001.
1001. Let me tell you a real truth. One that's going to sound counterintuitive to you. Stumbling, making mistakes, and blowing it is not hypocrisy. Not in real life, not in the Bible. Do you know what hypocrisy is? It's pretending you are perfect. To stumble and to make a mistake and to be disappointed, that doesn't make you a hypocrite. Well, you're a Christian. I can't believe this, that, or the other. No. That does not make you a hypocrite. To pretend that you're perfect, and to pretend that you never make a mistake, that's what Jesus comes down on. To pretend that you'll never make a mistake is to miss the whole point of grace. To be able to receive the forgiveness that you don't deserve. That's what legalism endorses. This rigidness that says you have to be perfect, and you can be perfect if you just pull your bootstraps up hard enough. Just work hard enough. Well, ask Paul how that worked. I don't know anyone that worked harder than Paul at being a good believer, at spreading good news, at doing everything that's right. I'm not going to open the passage. I'm not going to read it to you. If you want to know how Paul resolves this, you just read the next 7 verses in the Bible. Get to Romans. Don't do it while I'm talking. Romans 8, 1 through 7-ish. You'll see how he kind of resolves it. That's how he does the right thing. Even though he fails, he still does it. And now I know, in the back of your minds, finally, I know where Craig stands now. He's a lefty-loosey liberal. He's endorsing sin. We've got him now. Isn't this license to sin? Am I not saying to you, you're going to blow it? Good for you. Live it up. It's not a license to sin. Listen to me. It's a permission to heal. Paul isn't endorsing. He's not promoting sin. He's given permission for hearts to heal, to accept God's Bible-based grace, and to grow in love and devotion. It's the promise that even when you give up on yourself, God doesn't. As long as, what's that number again?
1,000.
As long as that number is true, then no matter, even when you give up on yourself, God isn't giving up on you. Do you know who wants you to give up? Do you know who wants you to grovel? Do you know who wants you to just wallow in your shame like pig filth? Satan. Satan wants to beat you up and break you down so that you do quit. If the Bible is true, if Jesus was a real person, if his parable about the prodigal son has any ounce of reality in it, when we disappoint ourselves and others, God still stands at the gate and waits us to come back, waits for us to come back, longs for us, greets us when we come back through the gate of the family farm. So what do I do with the remorse, the regret, the pain, the blowing it? When I know that I've let down the people who love me, the God who loves me, myself who I hope I'm beginning to love. When I let my toxic trait get the best of me, what do I do? Even when I'm stumbling, even when I'm failing, even when I fall down, even when I fall down, listen to me 1,000 times. As long as I get up, well, what was that one?
1,000.